Do you guys get Juneteenth off too?
I actually don't know. I have workplaces that do get that off though.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, listen, if you're gonna follow bank
I'm not
holidays,
mad
man,
about it.
listen. Oh, we got to do a.
Absolutely.
We're on air, kids.
Listen, I'm not even hating on any. I would love to celebrate Martin Luther King Day, Juneteenth.
Listen, yeah, it's not bad to get the holidays. I mean,
Yeah.
I was used to the prior roles I'd get in marketing because like we'd get hammered at Thanksgiving, so I'd have to work Thanksgiving, Black Friday, that whole weekend.
Yeah.
So now being the gig I do now, I like get away with not, I don't have, well, it works pretty well where I'm currently at because we really don't do a ton with Black Friday now.
Sure.
And so I get like bank holidays, as I like to say.
Hell
it works
yeah.
out, but.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, I can't complain too much. I mean, I guess I could, but,
Right. Who's going to listen? No one gives a shit.
Yeah, no one cares about it.
No one cares. Speaking of not caring, what do you think about IU being in the national title game?
Well, I certainly care.
I know.
I care quite a bit. I think that it's shocking to me that we're there. And I don't mean that from like a negative standpoint on IU. It's just that man,
for sure.
I would have never thought in my lifetime I would ever see IU football outperform IU basketball. But
I
we're
agree.
firmly there. I mean, it's a done deal at this point that we're.
Yeah, and I even think, as much promise as the new coach, Darren DeVries, has on the basketball side and how fun they are to watch, even though they still have a lot of growth to do, it's going to be a long road for them to catch IU football at this point. Like, I don't see, until they start competing on a national, title level.
I agree.
They're just not going to catch them, even if they start doing good. Like, and it's so weird. I was talking to somebody, we've all talked about like time shifts, and it's just so weird to think like, and I'm not saying that's what happened, but it does feel like that as an IU fan because you grow up watching Bob Knight. Even in the 2000s, we haven't won a national title, but we've competed at different levels. When Tom Crean was here, we were at least winning the Big Ten. Went to the national title game in 2002. We've been around, maybe even if we're not winning, but we've relevant until recently. Under the Archie Miller and then Woodson, all that trash, and then now football is just like. It just happened overnight. Like, it literally happened overnight.
I mean, what's the everyone keeps talking about the, like, what was it, the 2022 record or 2023 record, and it was like 3 wins, 2 or 3 wins, something like that, and then now we haven't had a loss this year, and obviously there's one more game, so knock on wood, but I think any way you look at it, the fact that IU football is on the stage it's on it's crazy to me. I think you're probably looking at and a lot of people have said this is not an original thought, but NIL is probably the biggest differentiator.
For sure, it is. The thing I go back to, though, is how much more money does does Indiana have than Ohio State? How much more money does Indiana have than Alabama? I would reckon to bet that they don't. I would reckon to bet they probably have less than a lot of those schools. So I think, and if they have more or less, maybe it's minuscule or probably on the same. Those big colleges, I feel like, are on the same playing field.
Yeah.
So I think at a certain level, yes, you're right. NIL is definitely, you have to consider that it turned this around. There's no way these players are at Indiana without NIL. But on the other side of the coin, that money is at all of those other main schools too. It is at Alabama. It is at Georgia. It is at Miami, who Indiana's going to play. It is at LSU.
Oh, yeah.
It's at Ohio State. So there's another driver. Yes, NIL is a huge driver.
Oh, yeah.
What's the other driver?
Well, I think you're looking at a situation with Signetti where I think he's a really good coach.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has contested that. I mean, I haven't heard any. It'd be one thing if I heard people say that, like, just the talent was so much, just so superior to any other school they've played. But obviously that's not the case. I mean, we've seen that. We know, it talked about ad nauseum, no 5 stars. You got 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, no stars.
Right.
So it's not that. I think that they've done a good job at roster construction. Signetti's talked about that, getting guys who are bought into it, who are willing to work as a team, who are willing to put ego aside. mean, think about it from the perspective of like a Surratt
Mm-hmm.
or, Black or any Kalen Black or any one of these guys
Yeah.
that are on there. You don't really, outside of Mendoza, you
Right.
really don't have a guy who's like a clear-cut superstar.
No, just yeah. No, you don't.
And it's not to say that these guys aren't flashing. Because I think like Pons is flashing. Like even for an undersized corner, like he's going to be in the NFL.
Sure. Yeah.
You've got a lot of NFL talent on the roster, but you've got a collection of guys who don't have to get fed the ball.
Right.
We've seen that.
Yeah.
You've got a collection of guys who are bought into what is being sold, and I think that's probably that's Signetti, but the X's and O's are his staff. I mean, that's not him.
Oh, for sure, it's not. Yeah, I think he is the the epitome of just a great GM operational type of manager. He's brought people around him that know what they're doing, right, and he can trust. I'm sure he has a lot of say in it. I'm sure he has what he brings to the table, which is great. But I bet I'm willing to bet a lot of that's leadership and just putting the right people around. But to your point on the players, I think what he's probably, I think a lot of programs are trying to do this, but I think what he's done better than most is he's utilized a lot of these other schools as farm systems. Like he's not going out and grabbing like, I've got to get the best transfer, which I think we've got a few of them coming in next year. So my point might be moot as we go into next year. But a lot of these transfers are, they're 4-year players, or they're players that have spent time in a junior college and then worked their way up to like a JMU and then into Indiana. So you're getting a lot of veteran, grizzled players that have learned to play the right way without an ego, right?
Yeah.
You're not going out and buying a 5-star athlete out of high school and saying, here's however much money, I want you to go be a 5-star athlete, and they're coming in with ego and expectation. I'm not saying some of these players don't have expectation and don't have an ego. They're football players. But when you bring in 5-star athletes and you go, hey, you're an 18, 19-year-old here's $2 million, $10 million, whatever that dollar figure is, there's that ego. Do they have that work ethic?
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to face adversity when it comes? And I think what he's done is he's gone out and I don't want to say Mendoza is like a Sam Darnold, but think of it that way. The Eagles went out and got a Sam Darnold, not the Eagles. The Seahawks went out and got a Sam Darnold and built a great defense around it. And all they ask him to do is, hey, do quality quarterback play. Run our offense. Do it well. You don't have to be Tom Brady. Just move the ball, protect it. Our defense is going to make plays. And I feel like that's similar to what a coach like Signetti is doing is let me go out, let me get this veteran guy that'll take care of the ball in Mendoza. And look, he played lights out last game. Is he the flashiest QB? No. Is he this or that? No. But he's going to take care of the ball. He's going to make the right plays, and then everything else is built around him to succeed as well. I think it's that mimic of what you see in a lot of these veteran QBs you're seeing in the NFL. It's the same thing, but on a college level.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's the challenge of, and he's talked about this at numerous times about the fact of just the way that they constructed it, to your point, the way they constructed the roster, the people they're going after, also the experience. I mean, you talked about the fact that he didn't go for guys that were necessarily like high upside, talent. It was more about production now. What are you doing? What have you been able to generate from a production standpoint? And by doing that, he has one of the oldest teams in the country. I think the average age is like 23 years old, something like that. A lot of 4th, 5th, 6th-year guys.
Right.
You've got guys who are less likely to make a mistake.
Yep.
They've already gone through, they've been through it at some level or another. They've been through high-stress situations, high-leverage situations. They know what's expected of them, and they come in, they do their job. And I think that it's, it's a different approach. I mean, if you look at the Alabamas of years past, you look at the Ohio States, it's just riddled with talent. I mean, not that that's a bad thing, but it's just, you were more talented than everybody else. That was the key differentiator. You
could afford to pay the players under the table.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, allegedly.
Yeah.
But, any way you look at it, you've got a team that's built to succeed in what they're doing. And even if I think I believe that Indiana can win this game, the national championship.
100%.
I feel good about the opportunity. I think Miami's a really good team. I think they've got a really good defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to think that IU's offense is certainly. I think it's definitely better than Miami. I believe more in Mendoza than I do in and Beck. But I also look at it
Agreed.
from the perspective, it'll just depend on what kind of pressure's on Mendoza and how much you move the ball. But I would put money on an IU to win that
I
game.
agree. I mean, I would put money on Indiana all day. And not that Miami's not a good team, but IU's offense doesn't make a mistake. We're patient, and then when we strike, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think the same's true of Miami's offense. I think they're going to take some risks, and I think we're going to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
You know, could some things happen? Could turnovers that we don't foresee happen? Sure, that could all happen, and that can change a game quick.
Oh yeah.
But I think this is Indiana's game to lose in my mind. Like, I think if we lose this game, it's because we made some mental errors on the field. I don't think it's going to be because Beck comes out and throws 300 yards and 4 TDs, or, you know, Miami's defense. Yeah, they can be good, but I don't think it's going to be because they swallow up Mendoza the whole time. I think it's going to be we made some critical errors, which we have avoided, which, to your point, I just can't harp on it enough. Like, these older players that people talk about, like, you've got some grizzled veterans that, you know, yeah, they're 23 years old, but you spent 4 years or 5 years if you're a grad transfer playing. You've spent coming up through the junior college onto a low Division I or FBS school, and now this is you've learned it. You know what I mean? Like, you've been through it.
Oh yeah.
And you know, and then you cut to some, you know, more of these high-end guys that, yes, they're talented out the ass, but, you know, you haven't seen everything yet. You know what I mean? I think of, like, Underwood at Michigan, who came in as a 5-star, one of the best QBs, if not the best QBs to come out of high school last year, and he struggled. And is it because he sucked? No. It's because it's his first year in college football where you go from playing decent players at a top level in high school. But come on, not every team and every player in high school is great. Where you go to one of the top Big Ten schools in the country, and you're playing top talent day in and day out. It's a different world, and I think that's what sets IU apart right now. Is we have players that have been doing that for 4 or 5 years.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Well, it makes a difference. It's got to make a difference. So I think the experience piece. Another thing to call out here is it's not like Indiana did something that nobody else can do.
Right.
Everything that IU has done under Signetti is something that Alabama could have done, something that Florida could do, Texas. Everybody else had the opportunity to do the same thing. In fact, I would say they probably would have been able to do it better than IU, at least in terms of attracting talent, because if you made this point earlier, it's not like IU's got some like endowment that puts them head and shoulders above anybody else. If you look at like a football budget and what they're spending versus like an Ohio State or Texas, I mean, at the very least, it's going to be a level playing field when it comes to that. Yeah. So I think it was just a difference of approach. And I also think that the quality of the coaches is probably a little bit of a differentiator versus some teams, not in Ohio State, who's got, you know, NFL guys doing in some of the coordinator positions, but it makes a difference. And it's a lot of factors. And it's, you know, we look at Ohio State. Ohio State's the best team that the IU has played so far. I mean, at least going off of what we've seen, I think Ohio State was truly the second best team in the country. For sure. And I think if IU had to play Ohio State again, that's the game. I think that would have been the most challenging thing for them to have to face off with in the national championship if it would have worked out that way. Yeah. You know, if the stars would have aligned. But it didn't happen that way. We've got Miami. IU is currently, I've seen it move all over the place, but essentially like a touchdown favorite. Yeah. Over-unders like 48.5, 49 points. Yeah. I tend to think that IU can, at the very least, I think they can cover. I think it's probably a 10-point, 12-point win, something like that. Yeah. So, I mean, if I was just going to throw out a score, I'd probably do like 31-20, something like that. Yeah. Somewhere in that ballpark.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. Now, my other question is, you know, we're hearing Sig's a proven coach. You know, every program he's been with wins. If he goes out, and let's just say he just beats the brakes off of Miami, does he stay and build a dynasty, or is he gone?
Well, I think the question with that is I don't think he's going to leave for another college program. So right. Like that.
I don't know either.
And I don't think there's a job opening out there that's good enough that he would be interested. I mean, that's already played out. Yeah. So you really would just be talking about the NFL. And from there, what are you talking about in terms of, you know, what team? You know,
Right.
where are you going to go? You know, do you want to go for a rebuild in Pittsburgh?
Right.
Like, you know, which, you know, FYI, you know, Tomlin stepped down or got
Gone.
fired, whatever you
Right.
call it. You've got Pittsburgh, who's going to go through a rebuild. You got Baltimore, who's, I think, shifting direction or trying to find a different route.
Soft reset. Let's
Yeah,
call it that.
you've got the Raiders, which has been the most popular one that he's been linked to just
Mhm.
because of, you know, Tom Brady, but the bigger piece was Mendoza
Yep.
and likely going there. I just look at these openings. I'm like, I don't know that you're going to find a better landing spot. I don't think you're going to find more money than what
Yeah.
you're making at IU. So it's not a money thing. It would be more of a, you know, like I want to jump to the next level and in terms of
Yeah.
like challenge. But I don't know. I
Yeah.
find it hard to believe that he would, at this point, given what he's making, what he's going to make,
Right.
if they complete the national championship run and if they do end up winning it, he'll get more money.
Oh, for sure.
And he's locked in and he's got a program. You look at what they got coming in next year. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I look at it, and I know it's different nowadays, at least for some. You know, I look at it this way. I mean, especially as an Indiana fan, you have an opportunity to build something. You know, like Bob Knight is a legend. You know, he'll always be a legend. You know, Coach K's of the world is a legend. You have the opportunity to build that. So in my mind, I think I would stay to build that, especially at a school like Indiana with the Indiana football program, because it was a joke. So you have an opportunity to not only have 2 good years, like, okay, we did good last year, we went to the playoffs. Let's assume we win the championship game and you win a championship. You've done that with the program. So that already puts you in a different class. I think he's going to arguably go down as one of the greatest, you know, coaching that's ever been done over or at least 2 seasons, right? A turnaround coaching job that's ever been done on any level. I think it's up there. You have the opportunity, if you stick around, to not only do that, but to become a legend and to build a program that that just sustains your legacy for years to come, right? But on the flip side of it, I mean, I know in college, I don't know how much, and I'm sure it still is out there and heavily out there, recruiting is taxing, right? So you're constantly flipping your roster over. So even though you get to pay for players now you've got to recruit your player to stay. Like I was listening to some BS about players taking tours of their schools they're currently at. Like I'm currently here, resell me on why I should stay and I'll make a visit. Like, I mean, what? and I know that that's going to happen in the NFL, but you lock players in for 3, 4, 5 years, whatever that looks like, and you have less of it, you know, right? And then if you build a winning program, let's say like, you know, a Belichick or an Andy Reid or whatever, then that's your recruiting source right there for players that want like, hey, you talk to your agent, I want to go play for Sig in Las Vegas Raiders or whatever, because he's got a program. You spend less time doing that. I know you're still going to have your time as a coach researching and scouting teams and game planning, but you're doing that in college plus, right, as a coach. And
it's true.
I could see a world where if I'm that coach and I'm thinking, hey, do I want to build this legacy? Yes. But I'm also this age, and do I kind of want to not have to do all this other BS?
I mean, it's a mixed thing, though. I mean, you also have to look at it from the perspective of one of the reasons that some college coaches end up going to the NFL and they don't work is because they're, for lack of a better way of putting it, like their shtick, you know, they're the things that they're saying and the way they approach things. It's harder to resonate with grown ass men.
Sure.
You know, if you're dealing with a guy who's made millions upon millions of dollars. He is locked in where he is. I mean, the only thing that he's got left to prove in most of those cases is going to be on the football field.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of these guys have already been through all that. They've seen it, and you're dealing with mid-20s, upper 20s, even 30-year-olds. It's a lot harder to I think, stand out to that group and to really be able to be, you know, have an impact on them. It's not to say that Sig couldn't do it,
I agree.
but that's that is an argument I've heard others make, and I don't disagree with it. It's a different challenge. At the same time, I don't know. I don't think he leaves. I think if he were to leave, it would be something. It would be a situation where I think he's going down the road. He's had success. He's got him probably a Natty, or hopefully multiple, at least one. And you're also looking at a situation too where he's probably losing coordinators, which is going to happen. I mean, they pay him really well, but it's only so long before you're looking at these guys and going, okay, you know, where are we going to where are they going to end up? Because they're not going to stay there. Most of these guys have higher aspirations than,
Yeah. I agree. No, I agree. And I think, I think, I think he seems to have a good effect on the hearts and minds of these players. You can kind of tell there is a culture there, a bond there. Yeah, obviously there's money there, but these players seem to really gravitate to his message.
Oh, yeah.
And what he wants to do and what he brings to the table, not just on the football field, just as an attitude, right? In general, how you approach life, which translates to the football field. And to your point, I don't think you get as much of that in the NFL. I think you still can to an extent. The coaches I mentioned a minute ago, I think Belichick did a good job at that. I think Andy Reid does a good job at that. I think Tomlin, who just stepped down, I mean, you don't spend somewhere 20 years without instilling that hardball, even with the Ravens, who's gone now. So there's opportunity. It's just not as much.
Yeah.
To your point, though, I do think maybe it's getting a little harder in college. I mean, when you're bringing in kids that are making $10 million or whatever, how much do they even give a shit what you're going to say? And then you got boosters knocking on your door saying, hey, I paid this kid $5 million. He needs to be on the field. Or, how do you bench a kid in basketball who's he's making half your NIL money. He's supposed to be a 5-star. You just throw him on the bench, which I would say yes. You absolutely do if he sucks and he's not performing. But then you got to answer to these 15 people.
But that also gets worse when you get into if you're using the basketball analogy, get in the NBA. I mean, sit some of those guys. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
He makes more than you do.
Yeah.
He's locked in longer than you are.
The NBA coaching world, I think, is a joke. And I think there's a few spots and a few coaches that actually do coach and have a say. And then I think everything else is just kind of trying to herd cats.
Fair.
But I think it's becoming harder in the college realm. I still think it's there, though. When you get young guys, they do want to buy into something, and you have that effect. And he would lose that in the NFL. At least somewhat would lose that. So I think that keeps him around.
Well, and things are going to level out. They're going to reach a point, too, after we look at this year and the next couple of years with some of the shenanigans that are going to happen from the NIL front, that they're just going to find a better – I think they're going to align on some type of salary cap. Yeah. They're going to have to. They're going to align on some type of it's just going to be – it's just like a minor leagues for – the NFL is a good way to look at it. I mean, I think that's ultimately what it's going to boil down to being. So, which I don't have a problem with. That's what it was anyway.
Yeah,
you might as well just call it what it is.
Yeah, I don't mind this at all because it was so focused in the SEC that now that the money is everywhere, SEC has not been the title game in 3 years, or hasn't won the national championship in 3? It'll be the third year.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
So yeah, you're starting to see a level out. Like the SEC is still there; they're still competitive. But you're not going to do what you were doing because the money was there. We all knew it was there, and we knew it was happening. Not that it wasn't
allegedly.
Not that it wasn't happening at IU or these other places, just not on the level it was happening at the Alabamas and the Georgias and the LSUs. It was happening at a higher level that no one else could really keep up with.
Well, the gap has been narrowed in terms of also when you look at facilities, you look at stadiums. IU's got some decent facilities. They're going to continue to upgrade. The stadium will get even bigger.
It's going to get crazy. In the next couple 100%. Years. Yeah.
So that's another thing to look at. If you're Signetti, man,
you're going to build. You're building. You're literally going to be the architect of this thing.
Yeah. So I mean, they're going to name the field after you. There's a lot of stuff to go with that. So. We could probably talk about IU football ad nauseum again. You heard it here first and 10. I'm going with, I think IU takes it, I'm going to say 31-20.
Yeah, I think IU's laying the smack down. I think it's, honestly, I know they got a little bit better of a setup here than Oregon did, but you're talking about Oregon had what was at the time the number 1 draft pick as a QB looking like an idiot last game. Obviously, Carson Beck's got a little bit more season to him. But I think we just beat the dog's nut out of Miami.
Yeah, score prediction.
I would say 30-7.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I think Beck is going to get risky. We're gonna be all over him. Just like we were more in Oregon. But I think he's going to take more chances. We're going to intercept the ball. We're going to get fumbles. We're going to get sacks. We're going to get better field position from pushing him back. I just think we put it to him. I know they play at home, so that's the caveat. But I don't really give a shit.
Well, Mendoza's at home too,
right?
And plus, IU travels as well as anybody, maybe better than anybody has this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
We got a lot of doctors and lawyers that graduated from IU. So
they've been, and we're the hungriest.
We are.
There's no doubt about it.
We're the hungriest at everything. We did really well at basketball and haven't had shit for a long time. So we're ready.
It's been a desert.
Yeah.
So we could sit here and talk about IU and what's going to happen at the Natty, but I think we've got to at least mention, we talk about coaches and where people are going. I think what's equally as important to the whole conversation around where people are going is, what about the people who didn't leave? What about the people who are still there and still have a job? And I think you all probably know where I'm alluding to on this, and that's with the Colts. I'm shocked by it. It feels like the decision to stand pat, to keep Steichen, to keep Ballard. It's got to be a situation where they just didn't feel like maybe I don't know if there was a money situation. I cannot understand. I guess it was the first half of the year.
If I'm just going to put myself in their shoes, and this isn't me agreeing with it all, is I think they think that first half of the year is indicative of what this team is.
Yeah.
And they think if we bring back most of these players, I think we'll probably lose Michael Pittman. But if we bring back a majority of who's on the field and then maybe find a way to add some other free agents, whatever, we bring back the majority.
Yeah.
We are a second-round playoff team. We are competing. We're a divisional winner. And I don't necessarily buy it. I don't buy it. Were we playing really well? Yeah, we were. I think you started to see some cracks in the armor, and you can blame that on Daniel Jones's fractured fibula or whatever, and then his ACL obviously goes out. But I think before that, you were starting to see, Achilles, and then I think he had that fractured whatever in his leg.
Yeah.
But I think you were starting to see fractures in the armor, though, cracks in the armor before any of that started to happen. And I think, and then now you're banking on Daniel Jones is not only going to come back and perform at the peak of what he was doing, which was well, but he's going to come back from that injury. Like, that injury is a hard thing to come back from.
It's a tough ask. Yeah. It's a tough ask. I mean, he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's not young.
Yeah.
Not particularly.
No.
I mean, I'm not sure. I think he's upper 20s, mid 20s, something like that. I don't remember how old he is.
But probably 28.
I should probably take a look at that before I call that out. So I'll fact check myself.
Yeah. You've got that, and then look, our defense has sucked.
28. He's 28.
There you go. So he's Our defense is, in my mind, has sucked. We have no consistent pass rush, and we have no draft capital to really go after that. Even if we did, Ballard has sucked at picking pass rushers. None of them have really performed at any level they should be at consistently. And then we really have no money. Right now it looks like we have money, but when we give that money to Daniel Jones and then we give it to Alec Pierce, we're going to be limited in cap space. How do you go out and sign a legitimate pass rusher? How do you go out and fill these gaps on defense to really do what we need to do to make this team what it should be? I just don't think you can do it. Like, I think this is, again, next year, going into next year.
They've got a pretty sizable.
Sure. I think it's like $50 million.
45, 54 million.
Look, Alec Pierce is going to take up a chunk of that. I think somebody, was it Ballard, already said that Daniel Jones is going to get a healthy contract. I don't know what that means. I mean, I think Jones was on, if he would have kept performing, he was on a $100 million track. He got injured. We'll see how much he gets.
Yeah. But they can make money. I think that's the one thing that, we often talk about this, but the other thing to keep in mind is that one of the things that teams have done in recent years is they've gotten much, I wouldn't say better is the right way of putting it, but like these deals that have like deferred money in them.
Team friendly.
Yeah. Well, they can free up money. So like when it comes to being able to figure out, how you can make a team competitive. I mean, you can do it from a like free agent signing standpoint. The problem you run into is that, let's just say that the Colts do everything that the best case scenario in terms of freeing up cap space. You're probably looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of like 80 million. Mm-hmm. That's kind of far fetched, but let's just we'll roll with it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do in that case in terms of who are you going to sign? What deal you can't make a deal for anybody. There's no elite pass rushers that you can get.
And
not without giving up. I mean, and you can't give up anything to get like any of the top.
Well, we don't have any first round picks to give up.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
So you're just talking money. Okay, let's say, like, to your point, we can throw whatever money at somebody.
Yep.
Who wants to come? Who is available and who wants to come play here if they have a choice, right?
100%. They can go play for Chicago. I mean, that's a hole in the Bears. The Bears.
Sure, Bears are winning, right? Yep. Do you know what I mean? So
that's what I'm saying. you've got opportunities. I just think that the problem that the Pacers, well, them too. I'm foreshadowing
There's all
another
kinds
combo.
of, yeah.
But the problem with the Colts is that you're running into a situation where they don't have it. I don't think they have a legit quarterback. They don't have a vision that of the future. Like, you don't have anything to buy into with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not a big fan of the Chargers, but they're locked into what Herbert is, right? Like that is their vision.
Right. They're locked
So you
into
can
it.
you can attract people to that just by saying we're building around this guy. This
Yeah.
is the vision. This is the direction we're going
Sure.
in. If you look at Jacksonville, you know what they're doing. They know the direction they're heading in. You know, they're building around what they have there.
Yeah.
If you look at the Bears they're building around the offense. They're building around what Caleb can do. You've got vision in those spots. I just don't know what is the vision for the Colts.
Yeah, I think there's parts that are there, and that's what's the problem with the Colts. I mean, you got Jonathan Taylor, which I don't know how many more years he has left in his prime, but you've got one of the best running backs, at least probably for another year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe. I know. Yeah, it gives me kind of heartburn thinking about it because I feel like we've wasted it.
He's 26. He's 26. So he's got
another 2 to 4 years, something like that. Yeah. And then you've got Alec Pierce, who's turned into one of the best wide receivers, deep threats out there. You've got our tight end. You've got, a decent O-line. But to your point is we don't have a QB that really has shown. Yes, Daniel Jones played really well the first little bit more than a quarter of the season, but his previous track record was terrible. Do you really buy into him over the next 4 to 6 years, right? Do we buy into him for the next 4 to 6 years to be our leader, who's going to be our culture grabber, who's going to be somebody that's going to lead this offense, somebody that can make the plays consistently and set that tone offensively? Obviously, the Colts are trying to paint that picture, but really, we've not had that, right? So it's like, what are we going to do? Is he the guy? Are we going to go back after AR? We're not. But is that what we're going to do? We can't really go draft anybody. There's no free agents better than Daniel Jones really to pick.
No.
We're kind of in like a freaking crapshoot backed into a corner.
Yeah, I would argue that the worst move that Ballard has made in his entire tenure was making that Sauce Gardner.
Oh, it's terrible.
That was one of the worst, and I understand why this is the other problem I have. And this could play into the reason why they're probably like, well, we might as well run it back because there's just not an attractive opening for a top flight GM.
No, that's what I was going to say.
But that move was a move of desperation because you were looking at it and saying, I'm all in on this year. We think we're close enough. All we need is, just a shutdown corner, which when he's not hurt,
he's a good,
he's legit. He's top line. The problem is that just what you had to give up to get him. You set this franchise back at least a couple of years. I would say it's even bigger than that because you're not going to be ready to compete. Daniel Jones isn't the dude. We can look at the first half of the Colts season and to your point earlier, say that was indicative of who they are and what they can be.
You can say that.
I think it's fool's gold.
Yeah.
I think they did some things well, but teams also adapted to it. And you look at it from the perspective of the weaponry. You're going to have to get another legit wide receiver. Pittman, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Pittman, but you got to let him go. You got to go get somebody. You don't have enough of a pass rush to really have a major impact, which is a common problem. You've got a running back. You probably at best have a middle tier quarterback is the ceiling, I would say, for Daniel Jones, middle tier.
Yeah.
But he's going to be coming off this Achilles injury, so you don't want him to run. So he's going to be more of a pocket guy.
Yeah.
It's almost inevitable he's going to be slower.
Yeah.
So you got a pocket quarterback throwing to some more limited options at wide receiver. You've got, Warren's good, but he also trailed off.
He did.
Teams adapted to it, and they took him out of the game plan. So I don't know, man. I would look at it from the perspective of I think that they're just trying to bide time. I think so too, I think I wouldn't be surprised if they tack on like a year onto like Ballard's deal or something, or at the very least they're looking at it because they said he wasn't getting a new contract.
No.
He didn't have a new contract.
Yeah.
But if they give him an extension, I think it's time to stop watching.
Yeah. Here's what I think happened.
Like a real extension.
Here's
like
what, and I would have blown it up if I was the owner. I would have said F it, just blown it up regardless. But here's what I do think happened, and you were alluding to it, is we've painted ourselves into a corner. And if you go out and you get a new GM wants to come in and do what they need to do to make it their team, right? And there's the cupboard's empty. Like there's no draft picks. There's no nothing. So how do you go out and get that franchise QB for them? How do you go out and get that second wide receiver? How do you go out and get the additional pass rush? How do you go out and fill these holes when you're dealing with second, third, fourth round picks? Which, yeah, shit, you can make some things happen, but you have no first round picks. Once you sign, you're not going to have that money that's going to change with that one. We're going to be able to go get that one all-star who's going to come in and change your defense or come in and be that number one receiver or number two receiver. It's just not there. And I think what the Colts did is they go, we're not going to be able to get that top end. We'll get a GM, but would they really be any better than Ballard? Or would we really be able to get who we wanted? And I think their answer was no. And so they stuck with Ballard. And to your point, I think they're probably stuck with Ballard for 2 years until this figures itself out.
Maybe. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, maybe, but they also they're not going to want to give him a contract extension. At least I hope not. If they do, then like I said, Colts fans, it's time to stop watching.
Yeah.
It's the only way you're going to get your team to make any movement is to lose money.
Yeah.
And not that they'll lose money, but they won't make as much money.
Absolutely. And the problem with this season, and I think a lot of us talked about it when it was happening, not that we knew Daniel Jones would get hurt, not we knew that the season would end. I was cheering the Colts on as much as anybody when they were winning. But the problem with this season is it kicked the can down the road. We should have blown this shit up back when Luck retired. We should have done look our hard selves in the mirror and make those hard decisions back when that happened, and we're still paying for it. You know, we go with Jacoby Brissett, and then we go with Matt Ryan, then we go with Phillip Rivers. And look, I'm not shitting on or going Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan. I'm not shitting on Phillip Rivers back then. He did a good job, but none of that answered our long-term question.
Oh, no. They just punted because they were trying to win now.
They punted and punted and punted, and then now we're here going, shit.
Well, not to mention they made a desperate pick with AR. I mean, you're talking about as unpolished as it gets.
Yeah.
That you talk about as that's probably the second worst decision of Ballard's
100%.
era. I would still go with Sauce Gardner, not because Sauce Gardner's not potentially worth that, but that's not the position the Colts were in.
No.
In hindsight, it's 2020, but man, that's tough. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's this easy scenario where you can look at it and say this team can hit the reset button. I don't think Ballard would accept a 1-year deal. I would be shocked.
No.
So you're probably looking at, assuming things go the way we think it will, you're probably looking at they'll re-sign Daniel Jones. They probably let a Pittman go. They'll bring in, I would think they would re-sign Pierce. Who knows? I don't know what they're going to do.
If they let him walk, then we'd be
They'll bring in another receiver. They'll probably bring in some guys. They'll spend a little bit of that money. You'll get like a flash guy or two. But I think you've got the holes are too big. I don't think you can close the gap on Houston's defense.
Yeah.
You can on their offense, but their defense is elite.
No, yeah, I mean,
Jacksonville, both sides of the ball, they're going to be better next year. You're competing against Tennessee.
Well, to your point, I mean, DeForest Buckner's getting up there. What's he on his third? Going to be on the second, third contract.
Yeah.
Grover Stewart. I mean, a lot of these anchors on our defense that have been good. I mean, Buckner was out half the season pretty much this year, or at least a quarter of it. That have been stalwarts on our line, that have anchored us. How many more years do they have left? How many more years can we count on them before we got to start looking at you to replace you? And you add that to the list of things,
It's a problem, I hate to be all doom and gloom. We started off talking about IU and, we talk about the good things that are going there and going to the Colts because I feel like we have to. We've got to bring it up. It's there. I think we also, there's one other one we got to bring up here. And I think that, you talk about teams in like a reset mode or really looking at setting up well for the future. I think the Pacers are in one of the most unique situations that I've seen in my sports lifetime that I've ever seen, where you have a team where Eastern Conference Finals, you're half away from winning the finals, from being an NBA. Think if that would have happened. Think if they would have pulled it off.
That's crazy.
You could legitimately have had a team win the championship and completely implode the next year without having everybody leave. That's usually what happens. Is like all the guys, they built it for one run.
Yeah, and then everybody goes and gets their contract and gets paid.
And then that's it. But the Pacers, it's just such a weird. You can't really blame the team for all the injuries that have happened. Of course, obviously, Hallie being out, had a huge impact, but it's such a weird situation you're looking at where it's like, I was thinking this the other day. We're talking about they're currently on, I believe, a 3-game winning streak. I actually think that's a bad thing. Like, they honestly, they just need to lose a lot.
Yeah.
And, Danny's talked about this ad nauseum. They're not going to do that.
No, they're not going to do that.
They need to.
The beautiful thing with the NBA is it's a lottery, right? So yeah, our percentage would go up being the worst team, but we still get a high percentage. You know, you don't necessarily need to be dead last like the NFL. You know, you're if we finish in the bottom 5 or the bottom whatever, we're in good shape to land a really solid pick. Obviously, you want it as good percentage as you can that your ball comes out of there. And to Danny's point, your point, no, Rick is not gonna cook the books on this and lose games. I don't think it's got to though. I mean, how many times you turn on the news and we got another 10-day contract guy, we're waiving this guy, we're pulling that guy. I think
feels like it's stabilizing though.
It is. It's getting there, and I think these 3 games you're seeing what we could do potentially, and I don't even think we've got Obi Toppin back. I think Isaiah Jackson's still out. You know, so we're still, like I said, anytime you take a player like Halliburton out, let's just say we lose Halliburton, there was going to be continuity issues anyway. Like we weren't going to come out in October, November and just beat the dog's not out of teams. We were going to need to learn how do we play without somebody that puts up 15 assists, right? How do we play with somebody that shares the ball so efficiently, doesn't turn it over, but can also score 20 to 30 points on any given night? How do you play? I think we had the roster to do it, but we would have had continuity issues. Well, but then guess what? Your backup point guard's injured in TJ until November. Nimhard goes down the first or second game, and he's out for a month. So not only the player that was supposed to are you losing Halliburton, you're losing the guy that was going to replace Halliburton, and then you're losing your guy off the bench, and then Obi, like, it just became this thing to where it's impossible. Like, and so Rick Carlisle's playing with these lineups. You can't even, so even once, my point is even once, let's say February hits and we get Toppin back, you're still looking at another month of play before that unit has the continuity we're used to, right? Where they're used to each other on the floor again.
But wait, when do the playoffs start? It's what, May?
Yeah, April, May, end of April, early May.
If we look at the schedule and we kind of forecast out, thinking about what is in front of the Pacers, and we look at when the playoffs would potentially start. The last home game's April 12th, so mid-April, right? And then after that, you're heading into the postseason. Well, if you're heading into the postseason at that point, let's just say it takes them a month. You've got a full month in March and half a month in April where this team, I could see them putting together, like stringing together a bunch of wins, okay?
Sure.
Because they got heart, they've got experience, they've got guys who can do it. My biggest concern with that is, yes, the whole draft positioning, that matters. But I'm also concerned about them running dudes ragged. Huh? Like, I'm very concerned about, like, is it worth running down a Siakam? Is it worth running down TJ?
Yeah.
Is it worth running down some of these guys? I mean, honestly, if it's me, my focus has to be on the young guys.
Sure. Yeah.
Give generous rest. They play every day. You got to keep everybody playing, but give generous rest to your vets, the guys who are going to be here long term. Focus on these young guys. See what you got. See what if Benedict Matherin's going to be worth keeping. Or showcasing him for a trade isn't a bad move either.
I was going to say, when the trade deadline's coming up, I think the trade deadline and the All-Star break's going to tell us a little bit. It may not tell us everything, but I do think Matherin's on his way out, whether it's this trade deadline or over the summer. So if they don't move him by the trade deadline, that just tells me they want to continue to showcase him, to your point, and see what he can do, because I think he's been injured too. So I think that'll tell us a lot. And I agree. I think at a certain point you'll probably see more of that, where you'll see, maybe a nagging injury hits Siakam that doesn't really exist, and he hits the bench a little bit longer.
Well, we don't have much time. We've only got a couple of weeks here.
Sure. And, the only other thing I would say is kind of look. I don't know how his and this is getting in the weeds, his contract structure, but maybe he's got some playing time stuff he's got to hit. Maybe there's some point stuff. And I could be wrong, and this could all be conjecture, but there could be some things where it's like, okay, let's let him hit his shit, and then let's get him to the bench.
Yeah.
There could be, there may not. But I do think that will happen. I think you're going to start seeing some of that. And maybe you already have with some of these players. Maybe the injuries to Jackson and all these other things are, they're injured, but let's just let them linger for a little bit, give them more rest. And you may see that with some other players, to your point, like Siakam and some of your more key players. Not that Jackson isn't a great player, but he's not Siakam. He's not your star player. I think you're going to start seeing it. I think you will. It'll probably be after the All-Star break.
Yeah, and to be clear, even with that 3-game winning streak, they're still tied basically for dead last.
Yeah.
So it's not as if,
No.
again, this isn't me saying that like, oh, they're going to go on a big run here and make the postseason. That ship has sailed. You're too far back.
We've got 2% chance, Mike.
I mean, the ship has sailed. It's done. It's done skis.
Yeah.
So they're not making the postseason. It's not about, even if they did, it's just, you're going to have to, again, like we talked about, you're going to have to grind so hard to get there that it's just not.
It'd be pointless.
Yeah. So you have to be smart about it, I think. And Rick's a smart coach. I mean, if there's one thing he's got going for him, is that I just hope that they look at a little bit longer term window. I don't mean like years down the road. I mean just next year, because you got to position yourself. And I think you've got an opportunity to have you could have an amazing year, because if you think about it, the longest season last year you can possibly have, basically. Short of going into overtime in Game 7, it's as long as it gets, basically. So now you look at this year, if you're not going to make the playoffs, man, you're out for months. Guys have a chance to go to Cancun, go to the beach, relax, get rested up, get in the training camp, hitting full steam. You know Hallie's going to be attacking it. He's still focused on rehab. Get these guys together, figure out who your draft pick's going to be, have him under the right guys. I think you got a chance to do something special next year, but this year's a loss.
No, it is a loss. I agree, and I think they just got to. I think they're going to do it. They just got to play their hands the right way, so it's not obvious. But I think it's coming.
Yeah.
After the All-Star break, I think mid-February, March, you're going to start seeing some of these players get less and less and less. But it sucks. Like, it's sad. I hate watching this, but I think what keeps me going is, one, I know the squad we have when healthy. Carlisle is a Hall of Fame coach. I don't think he's sticking around if he doesn't think that this is a team that can get back to where it was, right? He has no reason to. He's top 11 in wins. He almost won another finals with the Pacers. He could walk away at any time, and he's like, we would understand. And he's not doing it, and he's not going to do it because he knows the squad we have, and we just got to get it there.
Yeah, and there's a lot that can happen. I think a lot of the stories and things we see is, of course, them looking for Turner's replacement, which I don't even think is really fair. I mean, I get why they're saying that because of the big gap, but like, I think compared the numbers side to side, but I'd be willing to bet we haven't had a massive drop off from the center position. At least
he's leading the blocks. I'm sure he's averaging as many or at the same clip of rebounds, probably pretty close. I would say the only thing he might be off of is points. But I don't know that it'd be that far off. So yeah, and if you compared stats to what's Turner doing this year,
well, I mean, the points per game is the same essentially. I mean, it's negligible. It's rebounds negligible, assists negligible, double the blocks.
Yeah.
And similar efficiency. I mean, any way you look at it, like it really, you didn't lose.
We didn't lose. So that's not the reason. If anybody wants to say, and I haven't heard that, but if you go, we gave up Miles Turner, it has nothing to do with that. We would have been in the same boat, if not worse, with Miles Turner out there.
Yeah.
This is a continuity thing. This is availability. This is all those things. It has nothing to do. We made the best decision getting rid of Miles. I think Jay Huff is a key piece going forward. He may not be our guy of the future, but I think if we can go out, add another center, which all intents and purposes we're trying to do, and we go out and get that next level center and you pair Jay Huff, you got a dangerous bench.
Well, and get yourself, get another weapon offensively, someone who creates a shot. I mean, we've talked about that as being a challenge. I mean, it's tough to look at this year because we know that that's what Siakam is here to do, is to get the shots. I mean, that's what he's. But you could use another high volume scorer, and I think that's what they envisioned with Mathurin in terms of getting the foul line, driving to the lane. He just isn't. He just has never felt like the right fit.
Not for us. I mean, he can't play the ball we want to play, and I mean, think about it with when you're missing somebody that can set people up like Halliburton does, and I think that's so undervalued, and people across the NBA have not given him the respect he deserves. I mean, that gets everybody involved. I mean, you got a guy that's averaging 12 to 15 assists a game, everybody's eating, right? And to your point, if you get one more guy that you come off the bench or even start that can get his own play, then it's just that much more deadly, right? Because now you got to account for that guy. when he's got the ball in his hands or when he doesn't, because Halliburton can feed him. So I don't think we're missing much. I think we could get some healthy guys. I think we get the right center in here that pair with Jay Huff, and we get another scorer, which we could get in the draft. We could make a trade. I would not be surprised if we end up with a high pick and that turns into a trade. Yes, rookies are great. Yes, I would love like a Cam Boozer or something like that. I think they could be a good NBA player. But I would rather pair this current team with somebody that's been in the league 2 to 5 years, that's proven, that can take us to that next level, versus somebody I've got to teach. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it would fit the mold that Rick likes. I mean, he goes after guys who have the knowledge, have intelligence. I mean, you look at a guy like Siakam's a prime example of that. Or just a really smart player, knows what his role is, knows how to lead the team.
Yeah.
Hallie's in a similar boat, knows how to run it. I think that's been the problem we've had with Matherin.
Yeah.
The problem you've had with Matherin is that he's not a guy that you want out there like really having a lot of deep thought or like having to think of he needs simple offense. Give him the ball, drive the lane.
Yes.
Just boom, boom, boom.
Yes, he's invaluable. We saw in the playoffs in certain situations where he came drive it. We need a couple buckets, get it going. But you can't live like that. You can live in a game like that, in a game or a series within a game. You can't live in a 7-game series that.
They'll adjust. Teams will adjust. They'll take him out of it.
You can't do it.
It's just to manufacture points. And that's kind of my thing, is just as long as you get you need another volume scorer. I think they'll be okay with that. You've got what you need from the point position once Hallie's back. To your point, I think they're probably going to solve the big situation.
Yeah.
Jay Huff's a part of that. I don't know that he ends up being your starter. Maybe he is. I don't know.
I don't think he's going to end up. He's either going to, this is what's going to happen with Jay Huff. He's going to come off the bench, which if you're bringing Jay Huff off the bench with what he's done, you're talking Miles Turner type numbers coming off the bench behind somebody that can put up even better numbers. The unfortunate side of it is Jay Huff could be a package deal, and we may not even have Jay Huff next year. We start packaging to get the player you want. Which may happen. But here, I wouldn't be surprised if this top draft pick we have, this lottery pick we're going to get, turns into a veteran player and not a rookie. I wouldn't be surprised if they keep it either, but if I'm Rick Carlisle, I'm a Hall of Fame coach, I'm in my 60s, give me a veteran player that fits my mold. I'm not talking James Harden. I'm just talking a veteran player that fits my mold, that can come in here and just plug right in. I want that because I can go win championships next year with that. I don't have to wait 2 to 3 years for that to develop.
Well, and we're going to see. It's going to play out. We're going to learn a lot about what they think of the future and what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have to stay tuned for that, and definitely be looking for some posts to see what the Pacers are doing. We've kind of haven't put too much out there. It hasn't been too much to celebrate, but they're worth talking about. We still care. We're still Pacers fans. It's just there just hasn't been much to talk about. It's a down year.
Yeah, we can get down here and talk about all the injuries and losses if you want, but
nobody wants to hear that. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
But I've got one more point I wanted to hit on, and I think that'll probably do it for us, is I've got to talk about the Bears, talk about what's happened, and I think eat crow a little bit myself. And really, when I look at it, I mean, these guys know I'm terrible to watch games. Typical Bears fan. A lot of negativity. Just it's been hardened into us.
Yeah, for sure.
For a reason.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing that I have to point to is that with one of the things that I overlooked about Caleb Williams and the way I was evaluating and looking at him is I looked so much for efficiency, the completion percentage, what he was doing throughout the game, and not looking enough at the big moments. And I think the thing that gets overlooked is like what these guys can do when it counts. I mean, if you think about the iconic guys, people could make the case, okay, Tom Brady, for example, when they played Atlanta, why would that, why did they allow it to get to 28
down
to
3? Yeah, or whatever.
Why did that, he didn't do anything in the first half, and in the second half they turn it on. And I think that the thing that I'm seeing is that there's a lot to be said for the efficiency guys, the guys who maintain consistency. They just, they kill you with paper cuts.
Yeah.
But man, it's hard to replicate when the game is on the line. You give it to a dude. I don't know if there's anybody in the league right now.
That dude's making plays.
He's just a gamer. He's a gamer. He's a guy that if there's a throw to save my life, he's probably the guy I want in that moment.
Yeah.
He's probably the guy you want to make it at this point. who's better in the clutch than him right now?
Nobody.
Nobody is. And what he can do athletically, it's unreal. Is he the best quarterback in the league? No.
Sure.
But I think he's probably the most clutch guy that is out there. And when you look at a Bears fan base and what we've wanted, man, all we've ever wanted was to have a solid enough running game and a quarterback who can make plays when we need him to. And they've got that.
Listen, you're not in the playoffs without his late game heroics. You're not there.
Oh, no.
These games are over. They're done. You're getting beat. I mean, last game, what are you down 18 or whatever going into the fourth quarter, whatever that is? Cook them. In most games, especially to your point with a younger QB that's not the most efficient, you're cooked. The game's over. Not against the Bears this year.
No.
So I said it in our text message, and I'm not comparing him to Andrew Luck, but this type of stuff reminds me of Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
Because we would just spend the first 3 quarters going, what the hell are you doing? He'd throw some stupid pick. He'd get us down by 7, 14, whatever that is. And he'd do okay, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, fourth quarter, late third quarter, fourth quarter comes around. It's the best QB you've ever seen, making dimes. You couldn't even imagine that he'd be throwing. So it reminds me a lot of him. And when you've got a rapper like Lil Wayne going, you getting your ass beat by a guy with purple nails, you know you're playing. You pissed everybody off, and you're playing well. The only thing I worry about with the Bears, and I don't think it's going to be what's going to happen, but you can't replicate what they're doing again. I just don't think the Bears can win this way again next year. So what that means is there's got to be some growth that happens from everybody, from Ben Johnson to Caleb Williams. You got to figure out, does he have to become the most efficient guy throughout the game? No, but you got to figure out how to play ahead. You got to figure out how to win some games ahead. Absolutely continue to be a clutch QB, but how can you win some of these games ahead? How can you take the lead, keep the lead, and just get a couple games that way so you're not winning every game like this? Not that they're winning every game, but it's tight games. It's comeback games. I don't think that you can replicate this season again. They've got to find other ways to win.
Well, yeah, and they're ahead of schedule. I think that's the thing that I think Bears fans recognize. I mean, frankly, for me, it doesn't even matter what happens in the Rams game. Obviously, I'd love for them to win. I don't think they have a Super Bowl caliber team that they just don't have the defense to do it. They've had too many injuries in the secondary. That defense isn't going to get the job done. And I think offensively, there's some things they've got to do better. They've got to be more consistent. Yeah, they just have to. Yeah, and then to a lot of your points, good points you made there. I think ultimately what you're looking at is you're looking at a team that there's going to be a lot that happens as they head into next year, but they are set up as well as any team I've seen
100%
to be successful.
100%.
So I think you've checked the box on quarterback.
Yeah.
You check the box when it comes to receivers. And I think you can make a legitimate case that Colston Loveland was a better pick than Tyler Warren. And I panned it. I said that was a horrible move.
Sure.
I was not a fan of that. So I got to eat crow on that too. I got proven wrong. I think I've seen enough to at least say that they're equal footing.
Yeah, it was a great pick. It was a great pick.
Great pick. And, I don't know if it was more of just he fit the system better. Sure. I'm not sure. But he's an elite. He's probably going to be – I could see those two fighting for top tight end in the next few years.
Sure. That's going to be a duo out of a draft like none other.
They're just nasty. They're nasty. So the other thing – at least I called Caleb a bust in there. I'm right in that crowd too because, again, I just looked at what was in front of me. And I think the thing that I missed was the opportunities where he was put in a position where he had to make a play and he could make a play. Yeah. And we've really learned that in the second half of this year, really throughout this year, is that the dude is clutch. And that's really, I think, the number one characteristic you need from a quarterback. And he doesn't turn the ball over. That's the other thing. The dude, he's thrown some interceptions, but look at the situations look at the situations around him. Most of the time it's because, and it doesn't mean it's not his fault, but it's not like, it's weird. It's most of the picks that he's made are ones where he was in a situation where he had to throw it. In a lot of cases, it was either a 50-50 ball because they had to, because you had to get points, or it was a situation where he just wasn't on the same page with the receiver.
Yeah.
And you can tell when those happen. It's not just a bad throw. You
Agreed.
don't, if a guy curls and you expect him to slant and do a deep post, it's pretty obvious that there was a miscommunication. So he doesn't, even though he's got some throws where you're like, what? Or what? How do you miss this? Sure. I don't even understand it. I don't know, man. He's a special player, man.
I think he's solid. He's only going to keep getting better. The only thing I'll say is don't discount this playoffs yet because what is crazy about this playoffs is I don't think there's a team in this playoffs that's a runaway favorite. If there is one, maybe it's the Seahawks with their defense. But the Rams looked pedestrian again. Yeah, they can score, and they did that against the Panthers. But Bryce Young's no Caleb Williams in my mind, and I don't think that Panthers team, maybe they have some areas that compare with the Bears or better than the Bears. But as a whole, I think the Bears are as good, if not better, than the Panthers, and Panthers made them work for that. So I think the Rams look pedestrian. Buffalo, Buffalo look. Seattle, Seattle their defense looks really good.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's a runaway favorite. I honestly think that any one of these teams could win. It could win any of the games.
I think there's a reason the Bears have, I think, the second lowest percentage of the teams left, the likelihood to win it. And I think the biggest problem you have is that you cannot win deep in the playoffs this way.
Yeah.
You just don't. Nobody does.
Sure.
Because you got to be more consistent. I think the problems, like this next game, they're going to get ate up by Stafford. And I know it's going to be cold. I mean, it's going to be sub-zero, but Puka is going to have 200 yards, man. Yeah. Unless they just throw everything at him.
They've got to,
they're going to score. I think they're going to score a lot of points.
They're going to have to draw something up special, and then Caleb's going to have to make some plays early in the game. You're not going to be able to get down on this one. Yeah. You're not going to be able to walk into the fourth quarter down 30-3.
And I don't think the Packers are as good as the Rams, and they barely beat the Packers. They had to have a miraculous comeback to beat that team. Yeah. Some of it's divisional play. I'll give you that. Teams know each other's third time they played, so there's no secrets really. I look at it and I say I don't think they make it out of the NFC because I don't think they could beat. I don't think they could beat the Rams and the Seahawks. Sure. I don't see it. It doesn't mean that they can't. I just don't see it happening.
I don't see it either. But I think that what my point is none of these teams are runaway favorites, and none of them are top teams that we've seen in the past. They're beatable. They are all beatable. Everybody's beatable, but these are it's not like you're playing Kansas City 3 years ago. You know what I mean?
No, that's fair.
You're playing a Stafford who's playing. He had a really MVP type of season, but he also threw like 5 picks 2 weeks ago. So I mean, he's Stafford. He's got MVP in him, but he's also got maybe should hang it up in him too coming out.
Well, the West Coast teams are like, was it 1-15 when playing like sub-zero temps or something like that? Like it's not a good track record.
Yeah. So if you can find a way and draw something up and get by them, and then you go play Seattle. You're playing
San Fran.
Or San Fran. Let's assume Seattle for a moment. You got to get through their defense. Sam Darnold. I mean, we saw what Phillip Rivers and the Colts did. We almost beat Seattle with a quarterback that can't throw at 30 yards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just how well do you game plan, and can Caleb be efficient against a really good defense?
Yeah.
And then San Fran, again, they just lost George Kittle.
You got to think at some point it's going to catch up, but they just
keep winning.
They keep doing it. Yeah, I think that ends. I think that'll be the end of that. I think as they go this week, I don't think they beat Seattle. And it's also like, again, you've got teams that are very familiar with each other. I just don't think you have a situation there where they're going to be able to get it done.
Yeah.
Too many weapons are gone in that team. But who knows?
Who knows? No, my point is don't give up on the Bears yet.
I haven't given up on them. I just don't see it happening. Like I said, we're playing with house money. Like at this point, I just didn't want to lose to the Packers. Like that was the biggest thing. Like if you're going to lose in the playoffs, don't lose to this team.
Yeah.
You can't lose to it. All the crap we've heard now.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, my man. That's a hell of an episode. I think we hit on everything. You want to take us home?
Hey, thank you for tuning in. Check us out on our socials. We're really big on TikTok. Go like and follow us on there. Spotify for full episodes, YouTube for full episodes. Follow us on Facebook. We try to post as much as we can. So engage with us. Tell us we're stupid. Tell us you love us. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what we're doing right. We look forward to you guys talking to us. But thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you on the other side. Peace.